Joey Tanner and these young guys running him down. Now they're catching, and I'm not saying it's an age thing. It's part of it's the race cars. Darren's got just about the best you can get. He always has. He's smart with his equipment. He understands his equipment. But these kids now, like Trent and Joey, and don't count out Nathan Augustine, and we saw how fast the 3D of Miles Dubert is. And you see the save he had in the feature. My goodness. You get a guy that obviously a little older, and he's that sick. He goes out and he's that fast. You've got to say to yourself, man, I don't know a lot of healthy guys that are 15 years younger than Darren that would have even gotten the car, given as sick as he. And I talked to Darren. Darren was sick. A lot of guys would have packed it up and went home. But to drive to second place, huge credit. But what a job of driving by Trent. Did you watch? Now, that second half of that race is where I think things really changed on the 4. I'm talking just the 4E car. If you watch that, when that car came in, was right about the halfway point. We had that caution on lap 13. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Had a caution on lap 13. And from that restart on, again, Darren checked out. But when Darren got to the back of the field and they held him up, and I think that, but when he had almost a full straightaway. Remember? He did. It was pretty, about a full straightaway. And to watch what Trent did with that car, never lost his calm, never overdrove the car. I think Trent knew Darren's going to get there, and if I can work this out, I'm going to have a shot to win this race. It's exactly what happened. He waited for Darren to get the traffic, and then he just it looked like a loop. Lap after lap was the same lap. And Darren, like I said, there was 3-4 cars in front of him, 5 cars in front of him, 3 wide at times. Where's he going to go? Darren was waiting for the hole to open up on the bottom, being the short way around. I'm sure that's what it was.
And it didn't open.
And it didn't. It really didn't.
No.
And then Trent caught him. And just as Trent caught him, the top car had passed the 2 cars ahead of him, drove to the bottom. Trent got to the high side and had a clear lane around Darren. But watching Trent drive that car was his first win at Southern Oregon. So it was a big moment for that team.
Yep.
And you watch how that car worked. Those guys are going to be fast the rest of the year. Dave Foote hits us up on the chat line and says, the track was perfect! ! This is what we've heard from multiple drivers. We heard it all night long. Mm-hmm. Track was perfect. Tim Zeller and I are really working on setups every week, so it's starting to show. Now, that's Tim Zeller's old car that Dave Foote is in. That's a Swartz that went from Tim Zeller to Southern Oregon Speedway legend Dane Smith to Trevor Glaser. We all know Trevor. Mm-hmm. And then from Trevor went to Dave Foote.
Car's been around.
And everybody that's been in that car has been BA fast. We saw Dave Foote Saturday night was BA fast in that heat race. With Tim Zeller knows those Swartz cars really, really well. He works with Audi. They talk setups. Audi Swartz, the car builder, those guys are close. He's much like Norm Davis when it comes to setting up a Swartz car on dirt. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're going to find anybody better. And for Dave to have Tim in his pocket,
it's a good thing.
It's got to scare some of the competition because Tim knows his stuff. And Dave did a great job. That was the best I've seen that 75 car work. And he's had that car the last couple of years. That was hands down the best I've seen that car work. And Dave he was smooth. The car was going forward. It was rotating where it was supposed to rotate. Southern Oregon Speedway fans that are listening, keep your eyes on that 75 car this year. Don't be surprised if it gets a win. I won't. Not if we saw Saturday night. He was fast. Keeping with the late models, Mark Waggy, second start behind the wheel of a late model at Southern Oregon, was our dash winner. Mm-hmm. Won the dash, and man, I tell you, if you want to watch a driver that's just exciting to watch, the 1M car is somebody you want to watch. This guy, Mark Waggy, he's a 7-time track champion in the modifieds at Southern Oregon Speedway. Gets in the late model, goes out and ran third his first night in one at Southern Oregon a couple weeks ago. Comes out, wins the dash against really good cars. He had Elliott in the dash. He had Darren Koffel was in the dash. And I think The other car, I want to say it might have been Dave Foot. I can't remember. But he just watching Mark Wogge is as an announcer. I wish everybody drove like that because he's so much fun to watch. He's got that car through the corners of turns 1 and 2, and he's making a pass. Gets under a car, left front tire's up on the berm. The berm was kind of tall this last Saturday. He has that left front tire's up on the berm, and Mark, the thought of lifting the throttle never entered Mark Wogge's mind once. I mean, he didn't care how high that left front was up on that berm. He was just hammer down, and and he made the pass.
Well, that track was so good. I think, we was talking about it. I was down there in the tower for a little bit when they was out there running. That left front tire, I think, only touched the ground 2 times, maybe out of the corner of 2.
Set it down into turn 3, lift it right back up.
Lift it right back up, yeah.
He had that car. He was picking that left front up and carrying it down the straightaway.
Because the tires are sitting there. It's not even spinning.
Yeah.
And you hit it,
But, man, he was fast, and he's just fun to watch. You just watch Mark Wogge is a competitor, and he's going to race you hard. He's not going to give you an inch, and every inch you get with him, you're going to earn. That's his nature. That's how he drives, and he's respected. He got a lot of respect from the guys around him. He's not one of those guys that's going to drive through you and take you out on purpose or whatever. But man, he's exciting, no doubt.
You could tell though he was giving that right rear tire a really good bashing back there with that left front up off the ground that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he had that Victory Circle chassis working. He was getting all the performance I think he could. In the feature, we're talking about how fast this track is Saturday night. In the feature, we had Darren and Trent and others were watching on the clock. Darren and Trent were actually in the 13-second bracket in the feature on that track. I mean, and we're talking about how hooked up the track was. That'll tell you right there how fast these guys are moving around. They were in the 13s at points, especially in the later laps.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember I said that. Okay. Remember I said that the late models were in the 13s. They were in the mid-13s, 13.4. I think we were looking at 13.4.2 was about the best I saw. Okay. Elliott gets the win over Darren Koffel. Led 2 laps, and then the sprint cars roll on.
Now we're talking fast.
These dudes are crazy.
I think that's an underestimated statement right there. Those
talented.
Guys,
I mean, super talented.
Yes.
Super talented. But you can't be normal to get into a race car first and foremost. Okay, it's just not a natural thing to do to get in a machine like that and put yourself in the danger and the possibilities of a race car and go that fast and defy the limits and test fate, we'll say. But to get in a sprint car and do it the way they're doing it at Southern Oregon Speedway, I mean, these guys, oh my gosh.
I watched.
They're the definition of what a crazy race. I mean, and I don't mean crazy like insane, like bash you, flip you, try to wreck. I'm talking just what
fast.
These guys do. Period.
Crazy fast.
These are 1,200-pound cars that are just insane on the horsepower. The horsepower to weight ratio is crazy on these things. I got to watch a driver I hadn't seen before, Blaine Corey, in that 94 car. Mm-hmm. Beautiful race car.
Oh, I like that car.
Beautiful race car. And man, was that dude fast. He was fast. He was flying. Okay. So was Bailey Hibbard, driving his dad's. He was driving Dave Hibbard's number 3. I don't know why Dave wasn't in the car. I never got the answer to that question, but he was filling in for his dad. He was fast. We also had Mike Wheeler in the house. QRC, you know anything about cage carts around the country, you know that Mike Wheeler is a big name. Now he's running sprint cars at Southern Oregon in the black and gold 1W.
I was impressed with the 48E car. I talked to that young man prior to the race over in the pits. He really impresses me.
He does. He does. And at one point, remember he didn't get inside the top 3. But at one point during the feature, he had the fastest lap.
Yes, he did.
Then we had that restart. Things changed right then and there because we had 3 guys shooting it out for the win. And those are the three drivers I talked about. Blaine Corey, okay, in the 94, the 3 of Bailey Hibbard, and the 1W of Mike Wheeler. Now, watching Blaine Corey and Bailey Hibbard race for position was about as exciting as it gets for sprint cars. These guys were side by side, bumper to bumper, door to door, wing to wing, whatever you want to say, for the lead. And then Blaine Corey got to the front.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got to the front, it looked like, yeah, this deal's over. This dude has got it figured out. And they had that long run of green flag laps. And something started happening to that third place car. The 1W of Mike Wheeler. That watching him figure that track out and watching him drive that car where he was turning that car on entry was just past the flag stand. Everybody else turned a little later. Wheeler was throwing that car just past the flag stand, getting that back out, aiming right to the gutter, and driving that thing wide open through the corners, and he started reeling them in. And he caught Hibbard, and he got by Hibbard on the outside. And then he caught Blaine Corey, and the race was on for the lead.
A good race it was.
Now, this is where Sandy's looking over at me in the booth like, you're not going to have a voice when this one's over, and I didn't expect to because Wheeler was coming, and Blaine Corey was as fast as I think you're going to get. Okay. Blaine Corey turned the fastest lap of the feature in the final 2 laps. And he was at 12.3.
That's fast.
12.3. I want to say it was 12.312 if I remember looking at the computer right. Flying. And Mike Wheeler caught him and passed him for the lead on the outside.
Yeah.
He went around him on the outside. That long green flag run worked to
his advantage
big time. Because that 1W car kept getting better, and I kept talking about it, and that car was turning and getting in. You watch how he was driving that car in the entry. He was driving that car in 4 car lengths deeper than anybody else. And then it would just turn and set. I mean, it's nuts to watch a sprint car in the forward when they're on and their setup is on. It is nuts to watch those things and the forward bite those things have. And Wheeler was just, ecstatic in victory lane. Those guys it was a big win for those guys.
You're talking about forward bite. I had always watched sprint cars on dirt tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen them on asphalt until I went down to Houston, to Battleground Speedway.
It's insanity.
And those big boys was down there, the Outlaws. And, that was back when the real Outlaws were Outlaws. It was just amazing to see them come out of 2. And it just like you'd shot them out of a rocket once they hit the straightaway. Just super duper fast.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing to see them do that.
Well,
and then now they're doing that on dirt.
It's crazy. It's crazy to watch these guys. I ran mini sprints for a couple years. And after that couple of years, I had had enough of those things. They're a workout. They are.
You're up on the wheel the whole time, 100%.
Under caution, you're up on the wheel. You have to. Those things they're hard to drive. People don't realize a sprint car it's kind of like trying to catch lightning with your hand all the time.
Well, you don't turn it with the steering wheel.
You turn it with the throttle.
There you go.
But one little mistake in a sprint car can be a really, really big mistake. They're not that forgiving.
Mm-mm.
That's what I didn't like about them. They're just you better have a lot of money if you're going to run sprint cars in the upper ranks. A little bump can bend a lot of stuff. But, man, these guys were dialed in. The race with top 3 cars were just phenomenal. Enrique Jaime, like you talked about, he's fun to watch that. And you got to remember, he's a young guy.
Yes, he is.
Anissa Curtis, 15-year-old girl. She's out there flying around this place. You've got Who's the other young guy? Jared Hood in the A1.